Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has flagged a potential meeting with China's President Xi Jinping next month. Responding to a question on China lifting tariffs on barley, Mr Albanese indicated the meeting may occur on the sidelines of the G20 summit in India. It comes as the government prepares to release its new overseas development policy today, which aims to counter Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative.
For a decade, there's basically been a vacuum in our Pacific policy, and other nations have sought to fill the vacuum. The world doesn't stand still if Australia doesn't take an interest in our neighbourhood.
This policy falls a long way short of the type of commitments Labor made in their national platform in relation to aid and development assistance. So there will be much disappointment at Labor's failure in that regard.
OK, more detail about to be announced later on today. In the meantime, let's bring in the Nationals Senator Matt Canavan. What are your thoughts on that one, Matt?
Well, look, Peter, first of all, Bill Shorten's just on another planet. I mean, the whole development assistance regime turned towards the Pacific during the coalition government's time. We set up a new infrastructure fund, which has been building power and telecommunication infrastructure right through the Pacific Islands. And to some degree, I welcome further investment here. We need to stay close to our Pacific partners. But my concern here is that this policy seems to be about what Penny Wong wants, not what the Pacific wants. I read today that somehow all of the projects in the Pacific, 80% of them have to be to do with climate. They all need some kind of gender angle. And it just, to me, confirms some of the things you hear back from those in developing countries around the world. What they tell me and what I hear is that when China turns up, they get a new hospital. When Westerners turn up, they get a lecture. And they don't really need a lecture about LGBT rights. They just want basic power, water, help with developing food technologies. Why don't we focus on that rather than our own little eccentricities from the West, which is just going to drive a bigger wedge between our country and those that we should be close to?
Well, I mean, I guess if they can't achieve those objectives, would that just not encourage them to go into the arms of China instead?
Well, exactly right. Some of them might not want to go down this path. I mean, keep in mind, most of our Pacific neighbours are highly, highly Christian nations. And we know that from our, your viewers would know that from our sporting codes, that many of the Pacific Island players in our sporting teams are highly, highly Christian and sometimes rub up against the rainbow agenda that seems to be dominant here in this country. So why would we seek to force down an ideology down other people's throat, other countries' throat, when we're trying to actually be friends with them? We're trying to actually, the objective of this is apparently to make them more friendly and more open towards us than the Chinese Communist Party. Well, as I say, I don't think they need a Gender Studies 101 lecture. We should just focus on infrastructure, and I'm a bit worried about where this foreign policy approach is going, which all seems to be about the priorities of Canberra, not the priorities of the Pacific.